two ideas. First of all, that it was utopian, idealistic. Yes, of course, utopian. Utopia is idealistic, but it assumes the possibility of the perfection of mankind, and so we have there an idea that had never really been put into some kind of institutional practice, in format, that there could be an existence, an institution that would bring this about. The second key idea is this, that it's about what I could call not just the perfectibility of human beings, but that human beings are fundamentally the same all wherever.
Right.
So the universality, I call the homogeneity of the human spirit, and that comes through with Bacon as well.
Yeah.
It's all in Bacon.
Yeah.
It's not new when it gets to 1717, and you've got the creation of the new Grand Lodge.
Right.
It's there 100 years before.
Now, Bacon is before Newton, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Newton was the 16 or 17.
Newton was the latter half of the 17th century, beginning of the 18th.
Right.
Yeah.
And
He died in 17.
And I am sure of this, because this is his statement, Newton himself. He says, if I seem to stand above the average man, it's because of the shoulders of the men who came. And I'm sure that Bacon is one that he was thinking about.
For sure.
I know it was Galileo and Copernicus, I know that.
Yeah.
And the Egyptians, he loved the Egyptians.
Oh yes, because I mean he was.
In fact, it was from him that we learned that Pythagoras spent 22 years in Egypt learning. Yeah. It was from Newton.
Exactly.
This is the English, man.
Sure.
You see why I'm so enamored with it.
And the book, The New Atlantis, that Francis Bacon wrote, established the framework for which to build a society. They say that thoughts create action, and action creates the world. So Bacon put it all together.
Bacon wrote it. He didn't write the Atlantis. I thought that
New
was
Atlantis.
No, Atlantis. The New Atlantis.
The New Atlantis.
The New Atlantis.
And the ideas have been around, but he puts it together. He makes it homogeneous.
He was a
and
great
he makes
synthesizer.
It practical. He synthesized
But
ideas.
it wasn't practical in this sense, because he'd had to wait, in purely practical institutional terms, he'd had to wait 100 years or so.
Sure.
Until 1717, when by then time there had been a steady accumulation of other kinds of things, including, for example, the whole notion of looking for a metaphor that they could work with, and that was Solomon's Temple. Mm-hmm. I mean, prior to that they'd had the Pillars of Children of Lamech, which were an interesting operative idea, but until then we had not got Solomon's Temple. And curiously enough, that really just came in towards the end of the 17th century. And
now, before you go on, you know who Lamech was?
Not really.
Lamech? Okay.
He was one of Noah's sons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, children of Lamech.
Yeah.
They were responsible, according to the legend, the operative legend, for realizing that just as water and fire can be creative forces, they can be destructive forces, and that the Genesis myth was that that the world could be destroyed by either fire or by flood. Okay, this is all pre-Noah, this is antediluvian in that sense.
Right.
So in order to preserve all the secrets that they had managed to accumulate in terms of masonry, construction, geometry or whatever and so on, they created two pillars. One of marble that would not be destroyed by water, and the other one that by brick that would not be destroyed by fire. And on them they engraved all the secrets that they could, so that if they were destroyed somehow or other, some men somewhere may survive and would come and read them and so. That's the legend. Okay, so those are the pillars of Children of Lamech. In the old charges, you only ever get references to them. It's only when you get towards the latter half of the 17th century and the beginning of the 18th century that you then get a shift to Solomon's Temple. Solomon's Temple suddenly becomes important, and the pillars in
The pillars are still there though, because the rolls and records go within to prevent from inundations and conflagrations, right?
Right. You can.
Well, that's a late 18th century
creationism.
Yeah. But I mean, and one of the key components of all of this, in terms of bringing the two pillars of Solomon into Freemasonry was Newton, and that was why his book on the ancient chronology of ancient kings and men was important. And guess who were responsible for bringing that out? Three Freemasons.
All right.
Yeah.
But it would make sense because at that time, there was no real study of the sciences within the colleges themselves. They were in the lodges.
Yes.
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 That's where study was.
Yes.
In the schools, you had studied religion.
Yeah.
Which is, you know.
And it was basic classics taught. It was basic classics taught, classics based, and so on. So you got an educated society of gentlemen who were adept, in quotes, at dealing with the notions of allegory and symbolism and so on. In that sense, so that they were. And they had conversations, and I have charted the kinds of conversations in my Prestonian lecture, found what they were actually talking about in mixed groups, not just in their lodges, in mixed groups, gentlemen's clubs and so on. And I quoted some examples in the Prestonian lecture. And it was astonishing, and this is why I asked the question. In the first degree, we are charged by making a daily advancement in Masonic knowledge and study such of the liberal arts and sciences and so on. Do we do it? No, we don't.
No.
And in the second degree, when we become more advanced and so on, we are permitted to extend our researches in the hidden mysteries of nature and science. Do we do it? No, we don't. No. But they did originally.
Yeah, that's what
they were doing.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? This is what he wants to do.